Hey everybody, so in this video I'm going to show you how to work on part two of the inquiry and analysis document. So I already did a video on part one. You can go find that in Google Classroom or wherever else. The example I'm going to be using here is a 5 to 6 year old. So that's going to be my target audience that I chose. And again, you can see that in the other video. And specifically, I'm going to focus on the need of opening food packages. So like 5 to 6 year olds need to be able to open food packages because they're getting to be that age where they're going to need to. And I also want you all to remember that we're trying to design a toy, like a product or a toy, that's going to improve hand-eye coordination. So if you're still unclear on what hand-eye coordination is, think about, this is a good way to think about it, is it's anything that you do with your hands and your eyes that you have to coordinate together. Just like you have coordinates on a map and it's two numbers working together to give you a single point, these are two different things that are working together to get a job done. So like if you took your finger and you had to tap above the camera on your computer, that would be using hand-eye coordination to accomplish that task. And as we can imagine, opening food packages, you have to like look where your hands are and pull, usually if it's like a bag of chips or something. So I'm going to show a couple examples of that here. So in part two of this, after you've already chosen your audience in part one and chosen your need, we're really looking, it says here to identify and prioritize primary research needed to develop a solution to a problem. Well, what does that mean? That really means that we're trying to just kind of make a plan for what we're going to research. We're constructing a research plan. And there's kind of a couple steps that I have laid out here, but you can really approach this any way you want. This is just a suggestion. But you got to think, we're trying to make a toy. We have a goal in mind. We're doing it for a certain audience. We kind of know what we need to do, but we don't know how to do it. So we have to figure that out now. So that's really what this part is about, is it's about doing research and kind of doing some soul searching and figuring out, and also doing some straight up learning, like to get some facts, to find out, how can we make the best toy possible? So my suggestion is to make a list first of things that you need to do to solve the problem, things you don't know yet. To think about whether you're going to do primary or secondary research, which I'll explain in a minute. And those are explained here too. You can read those. And then to actually just do the research. And again, you can do this in any order. Maybe you do the research first and come back and label them as primary and secondary sources later, depending on how you found the data. But that's up to you in the end. So let's go down to this big empty box, which I know can be scary. And let's think of that first step. So like I said, the first step here is to just kind of make a bulleted list of what you think you need to know or explore to solve this problem. So I'm just going to kind of do a brain dump, and I'm going to say, I need to make a toy for a 5 to 6 year old, and it has to improve hand-eye coordination, and it has to help them get better at opening packages of food. What do I need to know? Well, one thing that comes to mind is, why do let's not say little kids, why do 5 to 6 year olds have trouble opening packages? You know what else pops into my head is, what grade is a 5 to 6 year old in? What grade is a 5 to 6 year old in? It helps if you word these as questions, I usually find. So, you can go about it that way, word these however you want. What else do we need to know? Maybe we want to know more about what is hand-eye coordination. And if we're thinking about a toy too, we might want to know things like, what do 5 to 6 year olds like to play with? What do 5 to 6 year olds like to do or play with? So, and this is just a starter. You can kind of come up with as many of these as you want. If you don't get to them all, that's okay. This is one of those situations where it's better to have more than less. And don't feel like, oh, this is so hard, I have to push myself, I have to get a certain number. Just, go with the flow and do a brain dump. Anytime you think of something you're wondering, jot it down here. So that's kind of, there's like a list of these here. And I mentioned before this idea of primary or secondary research. It's good to think of this ahead of time, but sometimes it's good to just start doing research also, but I'm still going to think of it ahead of time. So primary research, if we go up here, I have a definition. Primary research is something where you're doing a kind of experiment and drawing conclusions from it. And then secondary research is where someone else maybe did an experiment or someone else had an experience and they're telling you about the results or conclusions from it. And this is similar to primary and secondary sources in like a history class. A primary source is like the person was there, they experienced it. And a secondary source is like you're reading about it in a textbook or you're reading an interview someone had with someone who was there, but it's like secondhand information. So don't stress over this, but don't forget to label these accordingly. And so I'm gonna jump right in here and I'm gonna just pick one of these. So this one seems like it would be pretty easy. All right. So I'm gonna literally highlight this, copy it, and paste it into Google. Actually, let's do it in a different tab. I want to keep that one. We'll come back to that later. I want to know what grade a 5 to 6 year old is in. And look at this right here, top of the thing. 5 to 6 years old, they're in kindergarten. Let's actually go to that website just to kind of look and see. And this seems like a legitimate website. This looks like it's a school website or something like that. So you want to, try to make sure you're at a legitimate website. And the first thing you should do is copy and paste that URL from the top and put it right under here. I'm going to hit enter and then I'm going to hit tab on the keyboard. And then when I do Control V to paste, see how it put the bullets inside of the other one? So this can really help you organize your information. And I'm reading about this, someone else did this. So I'm going to put this is secondary research because I didn't go to a school and observe and ask and interview the kids myself to find out how old they are. This is research someone else did. This is secondary research. Okay. And what was the information I found? Well, let's summarize that for a second. I just said that 5 to 6 years old they are in kindergarten. So I'm going to put that down here. I promise we'll come back to that video. Kindergarten. Let's say 5 to 6 year olds are in kindergarten. All right. So that was just some real nice, easy secondary research that I did there. And so if this is starting to make sense to you, you might want to come back to this video for more info later. Because I know I'm going on 7 minutes here, but I'm going to keep going. The thing I don't want people to miss is the part about doing some primary research. So I'll talk about that later on in the video. And I'll have a link to that if you want to jump ahead to that now. But this is really the pattern that you're going to follow is, putting the URL, so the source, putting the type of research that you did to find that, and putting some of the information. And this was really short. When you go to some longer websites, you're probably going to find more information on that. And so I'm gonna do another example here of another kind of secondary source of information that you can get that might involve a little more writing here, a little more info that you're going to want to record. So if I search, why do 5 to 6 year olds have trouble opening packages? I'm cheating here because I already looked and found a good website. I go through these results here and I'm noticing down here, all right, as I'm reading these, why are child-resistant packages sometimes easier to open? Well, I'm not doing child-resistant packages. Child development from 5 to 6 years of age. They expect tricky emotions, social play. This doesn't really necessarily seem like it'll be good. Maybe I'd want to come back to that. But helping kids learn to open food packages, oh my gosh, that is the project I'm doing here. This seems like it'll be a gold mine. So if I go to that, and that was actually this tab up there, and I start taking a look at this, okay, this might be a great website for me. So you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to copy and paste that URL, hit tab. Remember, tab brings it in from this side. And I'm going to save that URL so that I have that there for later. And let's kind of skim down through this. So this person is a lunch duty mom. So they're doing the primary research. You're doing the secondary research because you're reading about what they discovered here, okay? She sees students struggling to open their packages. They work for a second, they give up, their hands go up in the air, and they're like, I need help, okay? So going through this, milk cartons, lunch boxes, or yogurt cups, snack bags, bananas, this is great. I'm going to jot some of this down. So I'm not going to worry about the formatting yet. Milk boxes. I'm just putting notes down. Juice boxes. What else was over there? Any info you see that looks useful, yogurt cups, snack bags, bananas, yogurt cups, snack bags, bananas. I can come back and like format my research later, but if you see stuff that seems really relevant, it doesn't hurt to jot it down right away. So those are some of the things that they have trouble opening. And look at this, motor skills, motor planning. What the heck is that? I'm going to copy and paste that down here into a new bullet. What are motor skills and motor planning? Because you know what? I might want to research that later, but I don't want to forget about it. So I'm just going to jot it down there. So anyways, I got sidetracked, but you should too. Let yourself get sidetracked, but just make sure you maintain a focus. So looking here, it seems like these are some of the quick things to practice with kids so they can be independent opening packages and containers in their lunches. If I were to make a toy, I would sure as heck want to know what other people are doing to make kids get better at opening packages and containers, right? So it looks like this lunch duty mom has come up with some activities that she does with some of the kids to help them get better at doing things like opening chip bags and milk cartons. So I'm going to look through these. Let's see, tearing paper, breaking sticks, stretching balloons. All right, these all sound like awesome things that I can note down. So the person in the article helps kids get better at opening things by having them do exercises and activities. Some of these activities are, and I forgot, so we'll go back. What did I say? Tearing paper, breaking sticks, stretching balloons. Tearing paper, breaking sticks, stretching balloons. So see, I'm not copying and pasting, but I'm kind of running all these things through my own head and I'm transferring them over to my notes so I have them for later. Peeling tape, Legos, peeling tape, Legos. I saw ripping Velcro. So you can go through and read an article, jot stuff down. Maybe you read the article first. What the heck are squigs? So you know what? Let's write this down. I don't know what a squig is. So let's put it down as a new question to answer later. What the heck is a squigs? I'm copying and pasting just the word because I don't even know how to spell it. So now I'll remember to come back and do it later, but I can keep focusing on this. So you know, this right here seemed like a great article. So I got the URL. I got I got some info down from it. And you know what I didn't do? I didn't say whether this was primary or secondary research. This was secondary research, right? Because I didn't do it. I found someone else's notes and I wrote them down. So I can put secondary research here. So you can write it any way you want, whether you put it as a bullet or you put it in parentheses. But that should, you know, put you in a position to make sure you get the most credit and you're really noting down what kind of research you did so you kind of remember later where you got the info. So on the note of putting down secondary research, what about a kind of primary research, okay? So what if we were also wondering something like, you know, the same kind of thing, why do kids have trouble opening packages? Well, another approach to answering this same question would be to maybe do some primary research. So what if I thought about, you know, this kind of approach? You know, how do kids have trouble opening a bag of chips? Right, and that's what my tab that I went by here a couple times is. So I'm not going to play the whole video, but I actually found, doing my own research, a video of a kid who is trying to open a bag of chips. Kid tries to open a bag of chips, all right? And this kid is having a time. It's kind of loud. It's kind of loud. I'm turning it down. But so this is a kind of sort of primary research. If I watch this video and I say to myself, gee, what do I notice the kid doing? So I'll let this play for a minute here. So you hear the adult is saying, try to pull it apart, try to pull it apart. And the kid doesn't even know where to grab. And we saw at the beginning, when the kid is doing this, he's trying to use his teeth. He's not even grabbing on the right side of the bag. Like there, now he gets it a little better. But so this is me doing my own kind of research and observing my own situation. So I'm going to paste a link to that video, copy, paste, okay? And this is going to be primary research. We can write that down later, but I'll put it down now. And so in this situation, I want to write down my thoughts. So I watched a kid trying to open a bag of chips, and I noticed that he was not pulling in the right places on the bag. He was trying to use his teeth, and he was having trouble gripping the bag. Oops, my thing is in the way there. And maybe also wasn't strong enough to open the bag. So you can do your own kind of primary research, and maybe you have a sibling or something like that that you can ask to do the task. Maybe you help your sibling, get dressed in the morning or something like that, and get themselves dressed up, and you pay attention to how they're buttoning their buttons. Or you ask them, hey, could you try to do this yourself? And I'm going to, while you're helping them get dressed in the morning. And you might notice what they have trouble with, and that might help you to be able to better work on your toy. We still don't know how we're going to make our toy from this, but now that we know, all right, a kid has trouble pulling, things like that, we can start to think about how the toy is going to work later on, and how we could maybe make a toy that's going to help. So that is sort of the main goal of this section down here, this part 2, is really just to, do some research, to sort of plan out our research, to write down any questions we have. Think of this like a research notebook. Like, imagine you're going out on the safari and you're going to learn things about rhinoceroses. You're going to have a notebook. You're going to write down your questions ahead of time, and then you're going to watch the rhinoceroses and you're going to learn about them. Okay, in our case, we're not watching rhinoceri. We are just, we have a problem we're trying to solve, and we have a way that we think we're going to solve it, and we have an approach, but we have to learn more before we can go ahead with that. So you can keep filling this sort of thing out. You can keep putting new questions underneath by hitting enter and then tab. Remember to put the URL, so that's the web address, and remember to note, primary or secondary, and also remember to summarize what you learn from the sources you find, okay? So it's going to take the format that I just had in here. So you can skip around in this video, jump forward and backward, and there may be some links in the description to different points in the video that are helpful, and hopefully this will help you guys figure out what you need to do. I know this was longer, but this requires a lot of me telling you how to do things. So please let me know if you have questions, and I am here for you guys, and that is all we got for now.